The Charles River Speedway headquarters is a complex that consists of 6 buildings built between 1899 and 1905 in the shingle and colonial revival style. It is notable for its representation of the earliest development on the Charles River Basin for recreation by the Metropolitan Parks Commission. The complex was designed to support horse and buggy racing at the adjacent Speedway, a scenic drive with a bicycle path, and a pedestrian promenade. It is exemplary of a bygone era and the state's proactive efforts to support recreational activities for the public. The immediate issue with the Charles River Speedway headquarters concerns its deteriorated state and lack of use. The Department of Conservation and Recreation has made efforts over the past years to weatherize the buildings, but as it sits unused, the property is falling into deeper disrepair. The intended benefit of the most endangered listing is to incite creative and appropriate adaptive reuse options for the property, either by the Commonwealth, a private developer, or a nonprofit. Reverend Abiel Williams built his federal-style clapboard house in Dudley circa 1790. Williams was the 4th Reverend of Dudley's Congregational Meeting House and a former representative to the Massachusetts General Court. The building is notable for its post and beam joinery and original architectural features such as wide plank pine floors and a dry laid granite foundation consisting of granite from local Dudley quarries. The house sits on an original country road and is well known in town. As it stands now, the Reverend Williams house will be demolished this month when a demolition delay on the home's demolition permit expires. The owners are willing to sell the house for as little as $1 if an interested party can be found and will move the house off the property. They are also open to a fair market value sale, but if a new owner is not found, the owner will raise the building to make room for new construction, and the town will lose an important piece of its history. The East Parish Meeting House was built in 1838 in an appropriately simple New England congregational style, featuring clapboard siding, gable roof, bell tower, and steeple. The bell is a Holbrook bell cast by Major George Holbrook, who was an apprentice of Paul Revere. Oil lamps and chandelier provide light for nighttime services, as the building is without electricity. It has been maintained by a small group of trustees since the congregation departed in the early 1900s. The meeting house has a debilitating pest infestation that has caused severe deterioration and the imminent threat of condemnation. The ceilings are starting to fall, and soon services may have to stop due to safety issues. The cost of repairs for the interior decay is beyond the financial capacity of the trustees. It is hoped that listing will provide more visibility and an affirmation as to the historic and community significance of this building. The Pawtucket Dam is an integral part of the Lowell Canal system and contributes much to the interpretation of the water power resources that make up the Lowell National Historical Park. The dam is made up of 2 sections, built in 1847 and in 1876. Atop squared granite sits a row of wooden flashboards that serve as a flood relief system. This flashboard system was part of an earlier dam on this site, and subsequent dam work has always retained this historic feature. The dam is a focal point of the national park and has many overlapping historic designations. The owners of the dam are currently proposing a project that would have severe adverse effects on the appearance and historic fabric of the dam. The proposal would remove the wooden flashboards in favor of a crest gate system. The granite dam would be covered by over 2,000 cubic yards of concrete that would provide a base for large metal gates and air-filled bladders that would control the dam systems. This new project would render the bottom of the dam totally dry during much of the year, as overflow is seen as a waste of hydro energy. Though energy production could be improved by up to 10%, it comes at an extremely high cost to the historic integrity of this piece of Lowell's history. This project has been met with major concern from citizens, neighbors, elected officials, and Congresswoman Nikki Tsongas. It is hoped that the designation as an endangered resource will create even more broad-based awareness and support for retaining this historic feature of the dam and resonate with federal agencies and commissions that are currently reviewing this project. The Lower Green in Newbury has been a historic touchstone for the town since 1635, when colonists traveled up the Parker River and settled Newbury a few hundred yards from its location. The site has seen nearly 4 centuries of history and growth, yet still retains much of its rural and idyllic context. Though the green itself is not under threat of development, a large parcel of land abutting the green has been sold for housing lots. A project comprised of 2 phases, current plans would forever change the cultural context and the view of the Lower Green from cultural landscape to development backdrop. Concerned citizens have created Save the Lower Green and joined together with the Essex County Greenbelt organization to raise funds to purchase the 12-acre parcel immediately adjacent to the Lower Green. So far, they have raised $200,000 and entered into an 18-month option to buy the property from the owner, therefore creating a permanent buffer that preserves the rural and historic character of the Lower Green. It is hoped that this listing will give further promotion to local efforts and aid in fundraising plans to procure this open space for future generations. Oakham's West Schoolhouse is a one-room brick schoolhouse built in 1827, replacing a wooden structure previously located on the same 1.3-acre site. The schoolhouse was closed in 1920 due to the low number of students and high cost of maintenance. Yet it is considered to be the best preserved one-room schoolhouse in Oakham and has seen few alterations since its construction. Most interior and exterior features are intact, although in very poor condition. The town purchased the schoolhouse in 2002 at auction. It is feared that if restoration efforts are not undertaken soon, the schoolhouse will collapse. One exterior wall is coming away from the roofline and estimated to hold for only another 12 months. Funds are desperately needed to properly secure the structure before another winter, and the town hopes that promotion from the most endangered list will increase visibility and stir community support for the school's stabilization and eventual reuse. Notre Dame was constructed in 1912 for a French-American congregation. The church and its cathedral proportions is of brick construction with a facade of white marble quarried from Lee, Massachusetts. The beautiful French Renaissance style is epitomized in the interior detailing and 32 paintings, which are registered with the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston, and the Smithsonian Institute. In May of 2010, the Congregation of Notre Dame was merged with nearby Sacred Heart. Though the church has had over $300,000 worth of improvements within the last 5 years, there is concern that the church's owner, the Diocese of Worcester, will close Notre Dame and retain Sacred Heart. The final decision on which church remains open has been delayed indefinitely as of June 2010. Though funding is not an immediate issue, there is widespread frustration at the lack of a transparent process with the diocese, and many in the community fear the deterioration and neglect that could occur should Notre Dame be closed. The Alice Mansion, part of the Mercy Medical Center complex in Springfield, was built in 1867 and is a stellar example of Victorian-era brickwork. The mansion is one of the last remaining in an area of the city that once featured numerous Victorian estates. The structure, with its central tower and architectural features, have retained their original appearance and integrity. Though the mansion has not been moved, its surrounding context has changed significantly, and it still retains a significant presence on a highly traveled thoroughfare. The Alice Mansion is threatened with demolition. Mercy Medical Center has requested a demolition permit due to an urgent need for space, though it is unclear when the demolition could occur. Looking forward, groups like the Springfield Preservation Trust would like to see an adaptive reuse of the building that ensures its preservation and the retention of its historical character. The Alice Mansion's inclusion on the most endangered list will hopefully create an opportunity for a dialogue between preservation and community groups with Mercy Medical Center about the future of this building. Built in 1872 in the French Second Empire style, 2527 Elliot Street is a last remaining example of similar buildings that once lined this street. The house, located in the Quadrangle Mattoon Street Historic District, is a link in one of the city's most historic neighborhoods and one that has recently seen revitalization. Severely damaged by fire in 2008, the future of this house is extremely tenuous. Though the exterior structure is still sound, the condition of the interior is considered extremely dangerous. Currently, the city has put the property in the hands of a court-appointed receiver while the owner appeals the denial of a demolition permit. Many citizens are concerned about the fate of this house, including United States Congressman Richard E. Neal. In a letter to the court-appointed receiver, the congressman stated, "While the fate of the Elliot House is uncertain, it is my belief that it must be protected, preserved, and restored." This past September, Preservation Massachusetts joined the congressman, city representatives, and others at the site to view the damage and discuss possible funding and reuse options. The restoration of the Elliot Street House faces many challenges, including having to comply with regulations and security of the adjacent federal courthouse. But optimism has prevailed, and working together, all parties hope to facilitate the next steps in stabilizing this building for future use. Worcester's Oddfellows home is located on a hilltop in the Glendale area of the city. This large and highly visible 3.5-story Romanesque Revival building was designed by the architectural firm of Baker and Nurse in 1890. The building is on land donated to the Oddfellows by Thomas Dodge, and it was sited to provide ample light and air for the home's residents. The structure centers on a 5-story brick clock tower, and the symbols of the Oddfellows are displayed prominently on the facade. It has been historically used for the aged since 1892. An addition made in 1902 is of similar construction and style. Vacant since 1998 and suffering from neglect and vandalism, the Oddfellows home is currently facing demolition. Plans to develop a residential apartment building adjacent to the site included partial demolition of the Oddfellows home, and then eventually the entire site. The demolition delay will expire in May 2011. Preservationists in the city are extremely concerned that if no reuse can be identified for the Oddfellows home, as of May 13, 2011, it can be demolished. This handsome and prominent building could greatly benefit from an appropriate adaptive reuse and once again serve the city of Worcester.